prepared for something new. Everyone is different. So are you. Stay straight. No masquerades. Do things that you'll remember. You can push too far, but stay fair. Stay on track. Give it your all. Get to the bottom of things. Decide what's right. Don't believe in what the others do. Find it out for yourself. Be close to it all. Bring your heart along. Follow your goals. Reach for the stars. Turn the weekend into the loudest party of your life. Are you prepared?
Well, Lucas Auer certainly did the job yesterday. He'd done all the hard work in qualifying, of course, which bagged him some points even before the race got underway. And when the race did get underway, well, Lucas Auer was not going to be putting a foot wrong. He converted that P1 place in qualifying. His pole position, just look at the lead that he was trying to build up. Timo Glock was becoming under bitter pressure when it came to the hairpin. And, well, there were some disasters along the way. And we can see Mara Engel and Jamie Green together there, and unfortunately that was just one of the dramatic moments during the course of what was an incredible race. And Gary Pavitt completely outbraking himself through the turn there, gifting that place to Timo Glock. Timo Glock in the BMW, then a little bit of consternation in the Mercedes garage. Okay, to Lucas Auer then in, and he needed a brilliant stop, and it wasn't a brilliant stop. Basically, the lollipop didn't lift. He wasn't sure that he was able to go following his pit stop, and that cost him valuable seconds. Mike Rockenfeller, who'd chosen to pit very, very early in the race. You can see Mike Rockenfeller there, and Rennie Rast was given a black and white flag, and Timo Glock getting past Lucas Auer really easily. Part of the reason for that is no tyre warmers anymore, so when a new set of tyres goes on, they are cold. There was also problems for Robert Wickens, as you can see. And here, Timo Glock making short work of Mike Rockenfeller through the hairpin. That was a textbook way to overtake at the hairpin. He would then try and block Mike Rockenfeller out as they went into the next turn. Willy Fritz on the Mercedes pit perch there. The man that was quietly going about his business was Matthias Ekstrom. And Lucas Auer then eventually finding his way with Timo Glock, and there was some delight in that garage of Lucas Auer as he was heading towards the checkered flag and to take the first win in season 2017. Lucas Auer was the winner. And right now we're going to catch up with the winner from yesterday. A torrid qualifying for him today. And Lucas Auer is with Verena right now. Thank you very much, Verena. So Lucas has no information on the weather. We'll tell you what we know after the grid, which is as follows. Timo Glock, pole position. Alongside him is René Rast. On the second row of the grid, we find Jamie Green, and the best of the Mercedes is Edoardo Mortara. Then we find Mike Rockenfeller and Bruno Spengler on the third row of the grid. To the fourth row, and it's Gary Paffett and Lucas Auer. Lucas Auer, yesterday's race winner, starting from P8. Maro Engel will be hoping for a better result today. Alongside him is Matthias Ekstrom, victorious in Rallycross earlier today here at Hockenheim. Then it's Paul de Resta and Nico Muller completing row number 6. Loic Duval and Tom Blomqvist share the 7th row of the grid for race 2 here at Hockenheim, with Maxime Martin and Robert Wickens bringing up the rear. Pole sitter is down there now with Verena.
Ohne Ende.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. It's got to, hasn't it? Interesting comments there that other guys throughout the grid have got new tyres and Timo has not. Now, there is Matthias Ekstrom. As I mentioned, he was victorious earlier on in the day, taking the final in the Rallycross competition, which always forms part now of the opening weekend here at Hockenheim, and a very welcome addition it is. It brings new fans in to experience the fastest touring cars on the planet, these DTM cars, and Matthias Ekstrom makes his way in. Gets into the cockpit of his car. There's Maro Engel, who you saw in the summary of the race yesterday. Didn't have the best of returns to his DTM. Of course, he was back in the DTM some years ago, but he's back this season and raring to go. Had a good conversation with Maro Engel last night, and Maro Engel looking for good things during season 2017. Gerhard Berger then is the new head of the people that run DTM, and his nephew is this young man, Lucas Auer, who's going from P8 on the grid. And Lucas Auer freely admits that he's got some work to do from P8 on the grid, and freely admits also that he has no information with regards to the weather. The focus on the eyes of Lucas Auer, already a race winner, and of course going into this race, he is the championship leader. Gary Paffett, the British stalwart for Mercedes-Benz. Well, he qualified his car on P7, so there is the car of Gary Paffett. See what Gary can do from there for Mercedes-Benz, going from P7. Bruno Spengler, it is, that goes from P6, former DTM champion, of course, in the BMW Bank M4 DTM. Bruno Spengler then P6 on the grid. 55 minutes plus 1 lap, the duration of the race, and the 2 races across Saturday and Sunday are now absolutely identical, with a mandatory pit stop, which has to be taken at any point in the race. There's no pit stop window anymore. Mike Rockenfeller goes from P5 on the grid. And there, Mike Rockenfeller in the number 99 Audi. He'll be looking for a good result today as well. fantastic aerial shot of the grid here at Hockenheim, the 4.574 kilometer circuit, which is going to play host to the opening weekend of DTM for season 2017. There's the grid for you. Glock, Rast, Green, Mortara, Rockefeller, Spengler, Paffett, Auer, Engel and Matthias Ekstrom occupying the first 5 rows of the starting grid for race number 2. Then we see Paul de Resta, Nico Muller, Loic Duval, Tom Blomqvist, Maxime Martin, Robert Wickens, Marco Wittmann, Augusto Farfus. Yesterday's race winner, Lucas Auer, we were speaking to him a few moments ago, or rather Verena was, and he could offer us no information with regards to the weather. The information we have, having looked at the radar map, is that rain is going to skirt right across the corner of Hockenheim. Therefore, could play a part, may not play a part. Edoardo Mortara came so very close last year to clinching the championship. Done a very good job in qualifying, and he is the best of the Mercedes-Benz drivers. Alongside me, at last I can introduce him, is top racing driver Alex Toril, who can offer us some racing driver input into this. And there is a question mark over the weather, Alex.
Yeah, weather will play a big part maybe during the race, so maybe we can see some tire change in the middle of the race.
Okay, well, we will see if that happens. Dieter Gas is the head of Audi DTM, and he's with Verena right now. Well, thank you, Verena. Well, of course, Dieter Gas's information with regards to weather is going to be more accurate probably than yours and mine, Alex Toril, and he's saying that there is the possibility.
Yeah, I mean, every team has better radars, and sometimes they have even contract with a special meteorologist. So who knows the information, but like we said, it's been surprising all day, the rain. So let's see what's happening in the next 55 minutes.
Well, the man that really sussed the weather this morning was Timo Glock, wasn't it? Because qualifying, basically the track started off wet. There's the Drivers' Championship. As I mentioned, Lucas Auer is right at the top of that. But Timo Glock is P2, and of course he starts from P1 on the grid today. Bernd Schneider is the DTM legend. He's alongside Verena now. Thank you very much, Verena. Always good comments from Bernd Schneider, and he really is a DTM legend, Alex Toril.
Yeah, of course. He won many times this championship. He knows how the job has to be done. And, I mean, it's inside Mercedes. You always have extra information we don't have, especially. But, yeah, it's definitely a big legend of the DTM.
And still a very successful racer, it has to be said. He's still racing and very successful indeed. Right, pole sitter Timo Glock. Alongside him is René Rast. Then we find Jamie Green and Edoardo Mortara. Then it's Mike Rockefeller and Bruno Spengler. Stand by, 50 minutes plus 1 lap of hot rock race action to come from the DTM for season 2017. The fans are in the grandstands. The engines have started up and we're about to roar away on the formation lap for DTM race number 2. As I mentioned earlier in the program, one of the new rules is the fact that both races across Saturday and Sunday are identical in length. 55 minutes plus 1 lap. No restriction in terms of when you go into the pits to take your mandatory pit stop. Only 2 engineers allowed to work on either side of the car during those tyre changes. DRS has changed somewhat, reduction in use of DRS, and there are a number of other certain changes as well, including, as Bernd Schneider mentioned there, no information from team radio from the engineers back to the drivers either. As we go into the garages, and Gerhard Berger and Timo Scheider and Jens Marquardt there all in conversation. Cars making the way around the Parabolica. Grid once again is on screen for you in graphics as the cars are out on their formation lap right now. So Timo Glock then we go on board with. Dials in around the hairpin turn. Closely followed by René Rast, as Dieter Gas was saying with Verena earlier on. Very good qualifying from René Rast. Made sporadic appearances in the DTM towards the end of the year last year, and full campaign in DTM for René Rast this year. Another supreme heli shot here, which shows just how tight that turn is, Alex Toril. That's one to get right, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really important, the so-called Mercedes arena. We've seen already so many people blocking out the tires. It's really tight, and also gives you a second opportunity if you get past the hairpin.
Yes.
To regain your position, or at least to keep defending it towards those grandstands and those that Mercedes arena.
From qualifying, the air temperature and track temperature have increased a bit. Air track temperature, as you can see now, 21 degrees, and all our focus, of course, is on whether we are going to get any rain during the course of the race. 55 minutes is a possibility, and Dieter Gas, of those that Verena spoke to just before the start of the formation lap, seemed to indicate that it was quite likely. Back on board with Timo Glock then, as he gives it an absolute footful, and we visit the garage of BMW Motorsport once again. There is Toto Wolff and Uli Fritz inside the Mercedes manufacturer's garages. As Timo Glock makes his way to his grid box, René Rast does the same.
Go, stop. Very good. Idle, preload and tips.
And into the Audi garage, you can see Arno Zenzen and Dieter Gas in there, along with Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich here in full effect as well. Of course, the head of Audi Motorsport now is Dieter Gas. We await the green flag from the marshal at the rear, which comes straight away because every car is in its grid box. Okay, hold your breath, stand by. Here comes race number 2. Good start from Timo Glock, a blistering start from Jamie Green, who could find himself in P2, and René Rast is being mugged here right at the start of the race. He runs out really, really wide and is going to lose a load of positions. We've got, I think that's Robert Wickens into the barriers. It is Robert Wickens that's gone into the barriers there. Timo Glock, Jamie Green, then it is Mike Rockenfeller, the 1, 2, 3.
I think you saw the crash with Robert Wickens and Loic Duval.
Okay.
So Wickens team radio then very briefly as the cars make their way onto the Parabolica now for the first time of asking their 3 abreast in some places here. This hairpin can prove to be a real bottleneck. Matthias Ekström trying to make his move around the outside there. I think it was Bruno Spengler that he was trying to get past but did not achieve that as they run in towards the Mercedes arena now. Timo Glock, Jamie Green and also Mike Rockenfeller all beginning to pull away from this pack here, and Matthias Ekström being overtaken by Maxime Martin, and we can see the back end of that BMW of Martin from that onboard shot of Matthias Ekström. Just look how he's looking into the rearview mirror. Safety car has been deployed already. So these 3 having broken away from the pack, the margin that they had is going to be neutralized now because the safety car has been called for before even 1 lap has been completed. And René Rast then, Alex Toril, went out wide, didn't he? And he you know, he was mugged at the start of the race, but he also lost a huge amount of places as well by running very, very wide, and now finds himself down there at P13.
Yeah, not a really successful start from René Rast. From first row in the grid till P13, so he lost around 11 positions. So like you said, he ran out wide. We need to see now the replay. I think his position was not so good at the start. They tried to block the position to Mortara. Then he's run out really, really wide. Yeah, we see the crash with Luc Duval. Yeah, and then we see he was not in the real good position towards turn 2.
So let's see this. Wickens up the inside of Nico Muller then. Oh, and Loic Duval was actually right on the outside of those three, wasn't he? And it almost looked like Robert Wickens had got no room. Let's see it from on board with Loic Duval's car then. That was quite an impact, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and there we can see it again. Do you know what? There was room there, wasn't there? Okay, let's see it from the splitter cam now. The inside of Bruno Spengler. Oof. And that's on board with Lucas Au, so we're looking further down the grid. But there's Loic Duval with significant damage to the side of the number 77 car, which has already had to pit. And I'm guessing that with no urgency there, whether they're contesting, Loic Duval can continue. They're taking a look at everything there on the car. So safety car has been deployed, and actually, Alex Torrell, that was quite a messy start, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit of accident, and we saw René Rast not getting a bit the best position possible towards corner 2. So yeah, yes, there was a cleaner start. Now we see some, let's say, small crashes or mistakes. And now let's see how the restart of the safety car, because we cannot forget now it's the first safety car that...
So this is Marco Wittmann then. Now he was the one that was really able to take advantage of what was going on around. He was just clean tidy, wasn't he? And bear in mind how far back on the grid that Marco Wittmann was. Finds himself in P10 now, P10. From 17 on the grid, and that's incredible, isn't it, from Marco Wittmann? All right, he's been advantaged by some of the things that have gone on. That incident in turn 1 is under investigation by race control. There was Marco Wittmann around the parabolica there, following Maxime Martin. Here comes Nico Muller then with whether that's tyre smoke or whether that's just the bodywork running on the rubbing on the tyre there of the Nico Muller car.
It was
look at that, bits falling off the car. Safety car is coming in this lap.
So what I was saying, now we need to take first safety car of the season. Now it's going to be NASCAR restart 2x2. So this is going to be, again, a new thing for everyone to watch.
So this means that the cars are not lined up absolutely one by one by one. They are side by side.
So exactly, it's going to be parallel as restart. So the first safety car of the season, let's see how it works out.
May I just say, Jamie Green, who started his life in oval racing in the UK, is well used to that sort of starting. Is he going to be able to take advantage of it?
We'll see
just
in a few seconds.
Just saying. So safety car is going to come in this lap. Now, they have rehearsed this safety car restart, haven't they? We saw it in after one of the free practice sessions. And Timo Glock could be vulnerable. So as I say, Jamie Green will know how to get the best out of this type of restart. Now, what's an interesting point here is pole position, Alex Torrell at Hockenheim is on the, if you're sitting in the car, on the left-hand side of the grid.
Exactly.
P2 is on the right-hand side. First turn is a right-hander, therefore you want to be on the right-hand side.
Exactly. That's why we see now Timo Glock is on the right-hand side of the grid, so we'll keep the inside line.
This is just to explain the reasons for that, because you will have seen him start on the other side of the grid. Right, so this is going to be exciting. Young Mr. Torrell, here we go. So safety car will peel off. It'll be down to Jamie Green and Timo Glock to control the pace of this restart. Now, of course, for Jamie Green, who, as I say, is used to these rolling starts in 2x2 formation, it could also be really disadvantageous for him. So as they head now, look at this. What did I say? Jamie Green, and the one that's been mugged now is Timo Glock. He's down to P4. And from nowhere, look at Lucas Auer. Big lock up from Lucas Auer. Timo Glock trying to come back at Bruno Spengler, who was one of those that got past him.
René Rast got turned with Maxime Martin in the back.
Oh no! Well, it's gone from bad to worse for René Rast, and then
Front wheel is broken. Front wheel is broken.
Gary Paffett was jumping all over the grass.
Copy, Max.
Bit of weaving from Lucas Auer there.
Yeah, we see Marangan at the outside of the hairpin. Rocky on the inside, squeezing out.
Oh, safety car start is under investigation now. Now, for my money, I think Jamie Green just read that start perfectly. I don't think he jumped it, which I'm only assuming that's why it's under investigation. No reason to suggest that at all. Wow. The drama is great. There's Maxime Martin. He's out of the race, regrettably. And Jamie Green up front then. And Lucas Auer is up to P2. The big loser in that safety car restart was, of course, Timo Glock. And
we see Jamie Green was a few inches in front of Timo Glock.
it depends which line you use.
Exactly. We will need to see how they analyze this, but this might be the problem in the safety car restart.
Okay.
This is the first. I'm not so sure if you have to be completely parallel or even away a little bit back.
Bits of panel work coming off those cars, and Arno Zenzen was well happy. So we're thinking perhaps from our control team that Maxime Martin, Augusto Farfus and René Rast involved in that. And there we can see it from a different angle. Good avoidance by Nico Müller. But René Rast, look at that car. It's almost unrecognizable, isn't it? Well, we haven't even done 10 minutes of the race yet. DRS is enabled now. The usage of DRS is restricted. You now have only 12 laps with which you can use DRS, and you have 3 usages of DRS during those 12 laps. Matthias Ekstrom, who is running in P5, behind Timo Glock's BMW. Race leader is Jamie Green, who's got a margin of 1.2 seconds over Lucas Auer, who was the winner yesterday. And please bear in mind that Lucas Auer was starting down there P8 on the grid.
Oh, we see some good car control from Augusto Farfus in the entry of Motodrome.
Now, all of these cars have each got to take a pit stop. So Augusto Farfus then and Gary Paffett very, very close together there. They're arguing over P13 in the race. Here is our race leader, Jamie Green. P2 is Lucas Auer. P3, Spengler, Glock. Then it's Matthias Ekstrom before we see our champion, Marco Wittmann. And Jamie is really stretching his legs now. The pace in the Audi at this stage of the race is very, very good indeed, and he's able to gap Lucas Auer by some 1.2 seconds. And that means, crucially for Lucas Auer, that he's not within a DRS window, because you still have to be within a second when you cross the start-finish line, don't you?
Exactly. This is the rule, this new rule this year. You have to be within a second in the start-finish line to get the DRS activated, and then you can have a maximum of 3. Once you use it once in a lap, you can use it a maximum of 3 times.
And if you don't use those 3 times, you lose them.
You lose them.
Right, Timo Glock then, who is P4 now, with his BMW brand mate ahead of him, Bruno Spengler, who is running in P3. So once again, it's split with the manufacturers, isn't it, in terms of Audi, Mercedes-Benz and BMW across the top 3 places. Just have a feeling that Jamie Green is looking pretty strong here. However, that's pending that investigation. That safety car restart was under investigation. On board with Edoardo Mortara, who's running in P7. He's trying to chase down the BMW of Marco Wittmann ahead of him as they cross the timing line once again. Jamie Green now. Now Lucas Auer has pulled a 10th back, or Jamie Green has lost a 10th. A pit stop penalty of 5 seconds for Jamie Green. Now, that's 5 seconds to be taken in addition to the time it takes for his pit stop. So basically, Alex Torrell explained this to me. When he comes into the pit stop, he stops, and he has to stop for 5 seconds. No one can do any work on the car for 5 seconds.
Exactly. He will come into the pit stop. No one will touch the car within 5 seconds. After the 5 seconds, the mechanics will start to change the tires and do the normal procedure of a pit stop.
So what we need then for Jamie Green then is for the Rosberg team to do the stop of their life, don't we?
Yeah, exactly.
As Timo Glock gets past Bruno Spengler at the hairpin and converts P4 into P3, and Matthias Ekstrom now right on the back of Bruno Spengler here. We're on board with Matthias Ekstrom as he chases down that BMW into the Mercedes arena right now. Look how close Matthias Ekstrom is to Bruno Spengler. Timo Glock ahead of Bruno now. Here we see Lucas Auer. So Matthias Ekstrom has already tasted the spoils of victory once today. Would like to do it all over again, of course, and he's got 42.5 minutes of this DTM race, where strategy will still play a huge part because of the mandatory pit stops that have got to come. So on board, staying on board with Matthias Ekstrom. This is great to bring you those shots of the driver hard at work inside the car. So Glock now P3. Rennie Rast is under investigation, or under investigation rather, is the incident between cars 38 and car 33. So Maxime Martin and Rennie Rast both under investigation for that. So Matthias Ekstrom then continuing to hound Bruno Spengler. There you can see that incident will be reported to the stewards of the meeting. And we see a retirement for Loic Duval, who's not had the opening weekend to his DTM campaign that he would have liked, that's for sure. So all bunched up again in this little battle here. Meantime, Jamie Green and Lucas Auer are making haste their escape, and Jamie Green last time around was able to take a further 10th out of Lucas Auer. In the meantime, Matthias Ekstrom has 2 BMWs ahead of him that he would like to try and dispose of. We're on board with him once again. Robert Wickens in conversation there with Toto Wolff. To the very right, just outside the picture, is the DTM reserve driver for Mercedes-Benz, Maximilian Günther.
We just saw in the time screen Mortara over to Wittmann.
Okay. Rennie Rast then is out of the race, sadly, and he is with Verena. Thank you, Verena, and well done for getting hold of Rennie Rast. We're seeing him replay now, and we saw it on that split screen as Matthias Ekstrom was able to get past Bruno Spengler, and next in his target sights will be Timo Glock. This is how he did it then, and that was off the back of the hairpin. And that's absolutely critical, Alex Torrell, to get that hairpin right in terms of an overtake move. You've got to be able to commit into the next turn as well.
Yeah, we saw yesterday already a few situations where if you don't commit in the hairpin, you can get this so-called switchback,
yes,
and then you lose the position you just won. You just get it back in the acceleration, but we saw there Eki did the car as wide as possible and holds his position. When we see Nico Müller going off track.
Good spot, yes, Nico Müller running out onto the rough stuff just for a moment. And there is Jamie Green, our race leader, and wonder if he was just run out there by Maro Engel, that would have been, I would have thought. Hopefully he was able to recover from there. So we've lost René Rast, we've lost Maxime Martin, and we think we've lost Loic Duval as well. Or did Loic Duval? Yes, no, we saw the car go into the garage, didn't we? Okay, Tom Blomqvist is the first of those to come in for the mandatory stop. Now, yesterday, 8 seconds was a good time, wasn't it?
That's low pit stop.
Matthias Ekstrom now on Timo Glock. Can he do it 2 laps in succession and overtake? No, he wasn't quite able to do it. It certainly wasn't a quick pit stop time that we were looking at with Tom Blomqvist, was it?
No, it's already yesterday 6.3, I think, from Audi with
Really?
Rockenfeller. So yeah, the our mechanics are getting faster and faster.
On board Edo Mortara's car right now. Edo Mortara, of course, switch of manufacturers this season, and we've just seen on our timing screen a change of climatic conditions, and wet tyres are admitted. Now, for the life of us, looking through our position here, high in the tribune on start finish straight, can't see any rain yet, but everyone has been saying that it is predicted during the course of the race. Staying on board with Edoardo Mortara. This is Matthias Ekstrom, who's found himself in P4 now, following some great moves, and he's chasing down that Timo Glock car. In the meantime, Jamie Green, bear in mind Jamie Green's got 5-second time penalty to add to his pit stop as well, but he's got a 2.7-second advantage over Lucas Auer currently. And here comes Matthias Ekstrom on Timo Glock. So Matthias Ekstrom will have another go, and it looks like Edoardo Mortara will have a go at Bruno Spengler as well.
Again, the is open, trying to dive to the inside of the hairpin.
Well, Matthias Ekstrom, he's got the job done even before they've got the hairpin. If they can scrub off the speed, as now Timo Glock goes for the what we call the switchback there, but Ekstrom needs to make that car really wide, doesn't he, going into the next turn? I think Timo Glock has got enough. Oh, brilliant speed carried there by Matthias Ekstrom, and in the meantime, whilst that's going on, Edoardo Mortara is disposing of Bruno Spengler as well.
Yeah, we saw this, what we were talking about. He breaking the inside, he make his car as wide as possible, Edoardo Mortara get it rotated and get a good acceleration, didn't allow Bruno to do this switchback. So we have here the double maneuver.
Yes, 2 overtakes going on in the same shot here from our heli. So Matthias Ekstrom on Timo Glock, as you can see.
Different approach, one from the outside, the other one from the inside.
Yeah. And this, Edoardo Mortara on Bruno Spengler. Absolutely, foot is nailed to the floor. Now, I have just seen 1 or 2 drivers using wipers. In for his pit stop comes Mike Rockenfeller from P8. So the Phoenix team ready to attend to Mike Rockenfeller. We watched this pit stop, as you can see, just 2 engineers.
If I have the stop now.
7.7. 7.7. Whoa.
Whoa, Mortara is with the hammer down.
Isn't he? Just, and a little bit of squeezing going on between Mortara and Timo Glock, but Mortara now goes through, so Timo Glock and Bruno Spengler both losing out in terms of places there, as Edoardo Mortara vaults himself up to P4. The 1, 2, 3 then, Jamie Green, Lucas Auer, Matthias Ekstrom. There is Lucas Auer, and here comes Matthias Ekstrom now. And this, the battle between Timo Glock and Edoardo Mortara. Mortara just trying to close the door before Glock could try and come back at him, and to be fair, Glock eased up, didn't he?
Yeah, that was close.
Good racing respect between the 2 of them, though, isn't it?
Yeah, like we were talking before in qualifying, we see now the Mercedes are picking up the speed in the duration of the race. So this maybe confirms a bit, but we were talking this morning that they work during the free practice this morning. They were in a better strategy towards the end of the race.
Now look, here's Hans-Jürgen Abt.
Yeah.
From his pit wall, just looking to see if any rain is coming down. Jamie Green leading by 4.7 seconds. Now, what Jamie Green has done here He's just focused on building as big a gap as possible to Lucas Au, because if we were to take a benchmark pit stop, as Augusto Farfus retires, let's say, for argument's sake, the pit stop... Really slippery, Lucas Au is saying. Timo Glock is going wide, losing a whole set of places. Is the rain beginning to fall? Going back to what I was saying about the pit stops, Marco Wittmann has got the wipers on. If Green and Au were to do exactly the same pit stop time, what Jamie Green needs is a margin of 5 seconds.
Exactly.
And he's up to 4.7.
And a faster pit stop. So this will be really challenging. Let's see if both pit on the same time.
So here is Marco Wittmann. Now, you'll recall Timo Glock saying that his tyres were worn and were going to be worn, that he was going to be using for the race. There is Jamie Green. And here comes Lucas Au. What's the gap going to be now? Try and count it in your head. It's 6.4 seconds.
Yeah, in the last lap he lost.
Really?
Yeah, we just saw Lucas losing 1.5 seconds again. Jamie Green just in one lap, and he's now struggling with the tire somehow on the radio.
So there is Bruno Spengler in. 8.7 is not brilliant, is it? Like Duval then, out of the race. Unfortunately, not a great weekend for him. He's with Farina. Thank you very much, Farina. On board with Lucas Au then, who I'm tempted to say is chasing down the Audi of Jamie Green, but actually he isn't, because he's 7.6 seconds behind. 7.6 seconds. That's a huge margin that Jamie Green has built up, Alex Torrell. And assuming that the pit stops go well... Oh, was that Jamie off?
Yeah, we heard Lucas saying the situation of the track is really slippery at the moment. We cannot really advise any rain from our speaker, Kevin, but definitely something out there. We see the lap times going slower and slower. And Lucas is losing around 1 second per lap compared to Jamie Green at the moment.
So Bruno Spengler and Mike Rockefeller. Now, right, Mike's got the wiper going all the time now. And there you can see Mike Rockefeller really reeling in the BMW of Bruno Spengler, and he's got him, hasn't he? And this is into turn number 2. So Mike Rockefeller with no problems finding his way past Bruno Spengler. Here comes Lucas Au then, who is down there in P2, some 7.6 seconds off of Jamie Green, who's leading the race. P3 is Edoardo Mortara, P4 is Matthias Ekstrom. Those two cars that you can see there, again, Matthias Ekstrom is one of the drivers that's using the wipers. Now, we did see on the our message screen from race control that there was a change of climatic conditions. That was some time ago. Whether that was just a warning, really, that there was some rain about to come. And a little touch there from...
That's the overtake.
Edo Mortara on Matthias Ekstrom, adjusting the brake bias. That's what that paddle is in the middle of the car, isn't it, Alex Torrell?
Exactly. This is small, big paddle. As we see front and rear is adjusting your brake bars. As Eki, Matthias Ekstrom comes into the pit, Glock is at the same time. Gordon slicks.
So raining quite hard in turn 2.
Mortara spun.
That's Edo Mortara spun around. Oh no, he's sideways on now. And gravel all over. Now that's on the exit of the pit lane, isn't it?
Yeah, the situation is the next one. If it starts to rain harder now, the driver outside has still the chance to pit and put wet tires.
Wet tires on.
The one which are now out on slicks, like for example, Glock just changed to slick tires.
Yes.
he might even need to go back and put wet tires.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this will probably be not the end of the race, but a difficult situation to get back because you have to take into account one more pit stop.
Okay, here is Lucas Auer then, and we just heard Jamie Green on the radio saying it was raining quite heavily on one part of the circuit, and that was Edoardo Mortara. Now, bear in mind, these tyres, they're not warmed anymore, are they?
Yeah, they get cooled down with the water.
Yeah.
Like we saw, as it started to rain, the curbs start to hold more water.
Yes.
And when
Whoa, good avoidance from both Paul di Resta and also from Marco Wittmann. Forgive me for interrupting, Alex, but
no worries.
Just saw that live. My goodness me. Well, he's managed to get the car pointing in the right direction and get going again, Edoardo Mortara. Paul, that would have been a real heart-in-the-mouth moment for him.
Yeah, like I was saying, the curbs are start to be slippery, so as soon as you run on the curb, it's not the same grip level like before. It's really easy to lose the car over them.
So confirmed. Think about the race, and then we fuck it up.
I didn't manage to pick it up. Did you understand, Dave?
No, sorry, I didn't. So, Jamie Green, 8.6 seconds to the good. Here comes Edoardo Mortara in again.
Bloody slippery. Proper slippery.
Well, forgive any excited language from Lucas Auer, but basically what he's saying is it's jolly slippery out there. More slicks going on to Edo Mortara.
Yeah, probably as he brakes so fast to not to crash, he got a big flat spot on the tires.
Okay.
And this become, for a driver, really undrivable and really a lot of vibration.
It's a vibration through the steering wheel, isn't it? And this was Marco Wittmann.
Avoiding Edoardo.
Whoa, that was so good avoidance from Wittmann. Now, Matthias Ekstrom. Bear in mind, the indication on the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen advises whether a driver has stopped or not stopped. Here is Jamie Green. My guessing is Green is going to stay out for as long as he can, if nothing else than just to assess the weather conditions for the remaining 26 minutes of the race, and probably Lucas Auer will do the same. The reason being, Alex Toril, if you put wet weather tyres on, it really needs to be wet, doesn't it, for them to work properly?
Exactly. If you drive with a wet tire in a really wet track or really damp track, it's not going to work. But we see already the driver is struggling a lot, and we watch the lap time. The lap time is increasing by a lot, almost 6 seconds, 8 seconds compared to the start of the race.
Oh, look at the rain on that, and Lucas Auer was really skirting
I think we are
skating.
I think we are going to see a pit stop dance really soon.
We can now see for the first time what Alex Toril romantically calls...
You have to think now very clear. It will be very difficult to get the tires up to temperature because it's actually quite raining.
Right, actually quite raining from Lucas Auer. Speaker cabin is what Alex Toril calls our commentary booth. And we can now see, can't we, Alex, that the rain is coming down properly. Now, this is good, surely good management, if you like, from Jamie Green and Lucas Auer, assuming they don't bin it before getting to the pit lane in, because they're going to come in and put wet weathers on, aren't they?
Exactly. All those drivers which didn't pit yet, they have the opportunity now to assume their pit stop and use this pit stop to change to wet tires, so they will take a big advantage of pit stopping later into the race.
What you also have to bear in mind is that when Jamie Green comes in for his pit stop, whether it's for wets or whether it is for slicks, and can't believe it will be for slicks, he has got a 5-second penalty. Nico Müller there, getting past the Mercedes-Benz of Maro Engel. They are absolutely side by side. Here comes Jamie Green. He's decided not to pit on this lap, so he's going to have to tiptoe around, isn't he?
Yeah, we see now we can see on the camera it's ringing a lot.
Lucas Auer staying out as well, and that car is dancing.
If it starts heavy to rain, you have to pit me, otherwise you destroy my race.
There you go, you've got to pit me, you've got to pit me, he's saying.
Exactly, he's struggling a lot. Everyone is now preparing wet tires, and like I said, we're gonna see now a dance in the pit stop because everyone wants to go in. All the drivers at this situation wants to pit, get their wet tire, and go back on track as soon as possible. Right,
here comes Marco Wittmann. You're absolutely right. There's a whole parade of cars coming down. Wittmann. Also in is Paul di Resta. Now, with a very, very busy pit lane, that means traffic. That means you can't be released necessarily. What's the problem here with Paul de Resta?
And Maro Engel has to wait behind him.
Oh, no, they're queuing up. Here comes Nico Müller. Marco Wittmann on his way back out again. So too now is...
Paul de Resta still on the pit lane.
No.
And Maro Engel is queuing behind him. My goodness.
Here comes Mike Rockenfeller. And the only two that are still out there, Jamie Green and Lucas Auer. This is extraordinary.
Yeah, let's hope there is no mistake from Green and Auer, because the track conditions are really difficult and they still are out there driving with slicks on a really wet track.
Okay. Oh, look at Timo Glock. He's having to drive that on the accelerator pedal, isn't he? And steering it from the back end. And Jamie Green tiptoeing his way around. Bear in mind, he's still got a 5-second penalty when he comes into the pits. Answer me this question as a racing driver, Alex Toril. Your tyres are not allowed to be warmed. How much of an effect is that going to have on the wet weather tyres that's going to go onto these cars?
Well, as far as I know, you can use tire warmers in the wet tyres.
Of course you can. Of course you can. You're absolutely right. Well done for picking that up. Right, Lucas Auer surely has got to come in on this occasion as well. Jamie Green is in.
So now stop and go for Jamie Green, 5 seconds.
No, Lucas Auer is staying out. I can see from the corner of our commentary booth, he's staying out. Jamie Green doesn't get away from the stop-go box quite as quickly as he would like to.
He will pit in the next lap. I think I managed to see his pit board. He was saying box to Lucas Auer.
Okay.
So I think he's coming in the next lap.
Well, there is Jamie Green. And the Rosberg team on Jamie Green do a good job, don't they? It's under 8 seconds, 7.9. And now, if Lucas Auer, and I regret having to say this, can try and put in as decent a lap as he can in torrid conditions for him, if he can then come in, and then the HWA team do a fantastic job with Lucas Auer, bearing in mind, Jamie Green has had to take that 5-second penalty as well, which ended up being like 5.5 seconds because he didn't seem to get away from the stop-go box very, very quickly. This could really play into the hands of Lucas Auer.
Exactly. Let's see how it's everything working out. But now you see the difference on speed. Look at Edoardo Mortara is chasing down Lucas Auer. Auer is really struggling to keep the car on track, while the other guys are already on wet tires, and this is chasing me down by miles.
So in is Timo Glock then. So the RMG team on Timo Glock.
Oh, some issues from Timo Glock again in the pit stop.
10.7. So where is Lucas Auer on track now?
He's coming now into the motodrome, I can see.
Right. He'll have Edo Mortara right on his tail, won't he? Because Edo Mortara is now shod on wet weather tyres, and Lucas Auer is trying to just nurse that car and slide that car from side to side with virtually no grip whatsoever, because he's the last of those on slick tyres. He's got to turn in on this occasion into the pit lane. Indeed he does. So from the HWA team, it needs to be the stop of their life, doesn't it?
They have to be really quick. What we saw before with Audi, I saw a change of strategy in pit stop. Yesterday they were changing first the front tires and then the rear tires, and today they changed and they start to change the rear tires and then the front tires.
Well, Jamie Green, look, is already down the start-finish straight.
Also different strategies, so one side, another side.
Well, it wasn't a bad time for Lucas Auer, but...
Now we see Marco Wittmann coming into corner one with Gary Paffett behind. So this is gonna be really close. So Auer gets in front.
Yeah, so Lucas Auer is ahead of Marco Wittmann and Gary Paffett. We've got just under 20 minutes of the race remaining. On board with Marco Wittmann, heading towards the hairpin here at Hockenheim.
Oh, Lucas Auer ran too late on the brakes.
He's going to lose.
He's going to lose both positions.
So he's in behind Gary Paffett now.
Now we also need to remind DRS is disabled, so no one can use DRS while the track is wet. they're having some fun.
Well, they're clearly more amused than we are about it. And this was where Lucas Auer just could not hold the car. He couldn't even turn in. Now, a point you've made as a racing driver is if you know that you're going too fast to be able to turn in, you're better off not trying to turn, aren't you? You're better off keeping it straight if you've got runoff area to use.
Exactly. This is this point. We saw already the car a bit sideways because you really try to turn, but it's not possible. You are too fast for such a tight corner. So the best thing, you run off, try to slow down the car and turn it around. The question now, Dev, is which car is working better in the wets?
Well, over the next 18 minutes, assuming the conditions stay as they are, we're going to find out. Jamie Green's car is certainly working well, isn't it? And if I may say so, I think he just nursed that car around, didn't he? And he did what he needed to do in terms of building a huge margin.
It's now 14.6 seconds behind. So Marco Wittmann is 14.6 seconds behind Jamie Green. That's a big margin. And if I have to be honest, I think Jamie Green, it's a really, really good driver in the wet. He always showed a good performance when it was wet. Absolutely.
You're absolutely right. He is, and so too is Gary Paffett, who is now reeling in Marco Wittmann. So the parabolica as they head up towards the hairpin. Gary Paffett will look at the outside. Will he try the undercut here and try and go up the inside of Marco Wittmann? He does now. And that is a brilliant move by Gary Paffett. He set that up almost by selling a dummy to Marco Wittmann, didn't he? Of going to the outside first of all. Marco then moved to the outside to protect that line, and whoa, if he can hold on to this, it'll be a great save from Marco Wittmann, and he does manage to hold on to it. In the meantime, Lucas Auer seems to be skating around behind him. Great overtake from Gary Paffett there. All his years of experience, and Gary Paffett, who lives not very far from me in East Anglia, in the UK, just outside Bury St Edmunds, funnily enough. So Gary Paffett then holding on to it. Jamie Green, another UK driver who is leading the race at the moment, and leading it by a margin of some 14.6 seconds over what is now P2, Gary Paffett.
Yeah, really good overtaking maneuver, using the power down, managing to not spin the tires and get the position back on Marco Wittmann.
Sure.
So this is really important as a driver. When you are in the wet, it's all about managing your traction. You have to really be careful not to spin the tires, try to do as much as you can with the gas, play with the gas, with the throttle, really smooth so you get the traction out of the tire, and because this car, you don't have kind of a traction control. You have to do it on your own. You have to be really smooth going out of the corner to avoid this wheel spin.
So that's the art of throttle control, isn't it?
Exactly.
Thank you. Jamie Green then leading the race. Reminder to you that we have top racing driver Alex Toril alongside us here to give us his expert opinion. Though I still maintain I was right about Jamie Green and the NASCAR restart. But giving us the racer's perspective into how the strategies and what's going through a racing driver's mind during the race. And just in a fantastic overtake from Gary Paffett. We're on board with Lucas Auer. Now, what's he doing down there? Is it brake bias that he's dealing with?
Looks no, usually because brake bias is on the top left of our screen. It's a big, let's say, it looks like a bit like a propeller. I don't know what he's touching actually down on the cockpit of the car.
Okay. So Jamie Green taking it a long way round that turn by going up high on the banking there. And for my money, has driven extremely well. When you consider how many laps did he have to do in torrid conditions on slick tyres, Alex? A number, didn't he? And he didn't, at that point, it's so easy to bin the car, isn't it? Because, you know, you've described it to me, it's like driving on ice.
Yeah, it's really difficult. The thing is also, as it's raining more and more, every lap is different. You have more water in the track, so the track gets more and more slippery, so it's really hard to know at which point you can brake. Maybe you have to brake 20 meters before than 20 meters earlier than the lap before, because if you brake in the same point, you can run wide.
And just look how Gary Paffett, you were asking me which of the manufacturers' cars are going to deal with these conditions best. Now, just look how Gary Paffett has been able to pull away from Marco Wittmann. Does that not tell you something?
Yeah, at the moment looks like Mercedes is working well, but it's like you said also, Gary Paffett is a really good really get driver in the wet. And it is also, we need to say, it's on the wet situation, it's a lot of things also down to the driver. How you behave with the car, how you manage to do this weight transfer control. And this, like we were talking before, how you apply the throttle that you maximize the traction out of the corner.
Okay. So Jamie Green then continues his quest as we get some replays here. And this is the Matthias Ekstrom. Oh, what wonderful pictures are these, the flame-spitting Matthias Ekstrom car. And the spun-up rear wheels of Jamie Green as he leaves the pit box. The Hankook slick rubber having been replaced with dry rubber.
Oh, that was the problem. They had ready for pole di resta the slick tires.
The tires, the wet weather tires weren't ready. Pit stop ranking, Wittmann 7.39, Ekstrom 7.4. Here is our race leader, Jamie Green, Audi driver. See the spray that's being thrown off the back of the Jamie Green car. It's really, really wet in places. I'm not absolutely sure it is still raining, but there is sufficient water out there, surely, Alex Torrell, for the remaining 12.5 minutes of this race for wet weather tyres to be the ones to be on.
Yeah, we see the car are lifting quite a few spray out of the track. Spray is this water we see coming out in the back of the car. So this means that the track is pretty wet, and it's going to stay like this for the rest, for the remaining time of the race.
He's running in P8 at the moment. That's Maro Engel, who we just saw as Matthias Ekstrom, not for the first time, goes past Timo Glock to put himself into the points. P10 now for Matthias Ekstrom in the Red Bull liveried Audi. Timo Glock then in the Deutsche Post liveried BMW that we're on board with right now, looking at the back end of that Matthias Ekstrom Audi car. And Maro Engel then through the gravel.
Doing some autocross or rallycross, let's say. But it's a Sachs corner. It's a Sachs corner. It's really difficult. So you have this banking, and when it's end, you have no runoff, no nothing. You directly go into the gravel, and it's really easy to lose the line. And once you go into the gravel, it's kind of push you even farther out of the corner.
Just almost draws you in,
exactly.
Doesn't it, Alex? Well, not being drawn in, or is he? Timo Glock now chasing down Matthias Ekstrom to try and wrestle that P10 place back. Timo Glock on the inside of the hairpin now. Matthias Ekstrom will give him racing room because he'll try and come back on the inside now. Watch this. But Timo Glock sticks his elbows out, makes that BMW as wide as possible and denies Matthias Ekstrom the opportunity to come back at him. So into the Mercedes arena, Timo Glock gets that place back, Alex Torrell. Talk about a seesaw.
I mean, this is all, like I was saying, the situation of this switchback and traction. You need to really manage well the traction. If not, you see this again. Sally, you go in the inside, you have the good line, but you need to put the power down, especially in these slippery conditions. You have this wheel spin.
In the meantime, Nico Müller and Paul Di Resta, who are running P5 and P6 around this rain-soaked Hockenheim circuit. As I say, I think it has stopped raining now. It was merely a shower, but the damage has been done. So we have Jamie Green P1, Gary Paffett P2, and Marco Wittmann P3. And to go back to your question about who of the manufacturers will have set their car up perfectly for these conditions, when you look at the top three, split across Audi, Mercedes-Benz and BMW, pretty spot on for all of them, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking a bit also on the time screen. It's pretty much everyone is lapping similar lap times. Well, let's see, each car of the brand is pretty fast, or let's say there is a fast car from each brand. So
yes,
it looks really similar, the situation at the moment.
So Nico Müller then and Paul Di Resta P5 and P6, as I mentioned, and Paul Di Resta Mercedes-Benz, Nico Müller then for Audi. The margin between the two of them, as you can see. So Paul Di Resta looking lively here. Reminder to you that DRS usage is not available to them in wet weather conditions.
Exactly, this is disabled, so there is no chance for the drivers to use this function anymore. So now it has to be, let's say, in the old school style. So you need to win the position normally without any help or extra help from a less downforce situation with the DRS.
So Nico Müller at the moment is able to show Paul di Resta a clean pair of heels, and if Paul di Resta throws at that now, how compromised will Paul di Resta be in terms of, you know, he's probably running just a little way back from Nico Müller for a couple of reasons. Number one being that the spray is not affecting his visibility quite so bad as if he was right on the back bumper of him. Is that true?
Exactly. I mean, that situation is not really much of a surprise, so you can really stick to the guy in front. As we also saw, it's mandatory now to have the lights, so you see the car in front with the lights on quite easy. But as we saw, once you are behind a car, you lose quite a lot of downforce. And that's also a reason why it's really hard for a driver to stick behind, also in these conditions where you need all the maximum grip possible in the car.
So if he's able to gap himself back a little bit and get out of that turbulent air that's coming off the back of the car in front, that's actually advantageous.
Exactly. But he needs to go, at some point, he needs to go close enough so he can overtake Nico Müller.
Yeah, sure. So it's a real compromise situation, isn't it? Right, Jamie Green then. And Gary Paffett in there. Gap's coming down, Alex Toril. But, you know, in fairness, Jamie Green has got the measure, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's controlling really well the race. 11.8 seconds is a good gap with 7 minutes to go plus 1 lap. So I think it's controlling really well. Don't take too much risk, and I've tried to avoid a possible solution of spun or run wide on the corner.
So Green, Paffett and Wittmann, who is the reigning DTM champion. It's a wonderful super slow-mo shot, isn't it, of the Gary Paffett Mercedes-Benz there. Absolutely fantastic. Paul di Resta still running in P6 behind Nico Müller. Nico Müller in the Audi is able to just hold Paul di Resta at bay for the moment. We're into the final 6.5 minutes of this DTM Race 2, which has been affected by the weather, been affected by a safety car right at the very start of the race.
And we see Paul di Resta is quite struggling to keep the pace of Nico Müller. He's there, but he's not completely there to overtake.
Now, with 6 minutes to go, we just mentioned about the gap Paffett to Green. We felt Green was managing that. What about the gap between Paffett and Marco Wittmann, Alex Toro?
Yeah, I was looking the lap before. For example, lap before Marco Wittmann was around half a second faster than Gary Paffett. So we might see some close situation towards the end of the race, but we need to see if it's also Gary Paffett is able to react.
Yes. You should bear in mind that Gary Paffett, with so much DTM race experience, he knows how to manage the race, doesn't he? Be well aware of the fact that we're almost into the final 5 minutes of the race, and also being very much aware of the fact that Marco Wittmann is getting a little bit closer. Bruno Spengler and Timo Glock. And there is Maro Engel, who's leading that little trio. Maro Engel is running there in P8. Spengler is P9, and Glock rounding out the points-paying positions in P10 at the moment. So Mercedes-Benz and 2 BMWs together there.
And we are also seeing this small, really tiny dryer line. I will not say dry, but dryer line, which is being created now. But end of the day, it's quite close to the end of the race.
Okay, now as we watch Timo Glock really in Bruno Spengler now, when you're running on these wet weather tyres, something I have always been told is to make wet weather tyres work effectively, you need wet weather. So if a drying line begins to develop, you might see drivers going offline a little bit just to try and keep those wet weather tyres in their operating conditions.
Exactly. If it gets too dry, then the wet tire will start to not work properly and overheat. And this is what the drivers doesn't want, because like you were saying, you need water for a wet tire. So then we might see some drivers going a little bit offline into where it's still wet to cool down the tire. But in my opinion, it's still not dry enough to see drivers going offline to cool their tires.
Timo Glock just taking a look at the inside of Bruno Spengler there, but was not able to get the traction that he needed to be able to make that count. And I think your analysis is absolutely right, Alex, with under 4 minutes, plus 1 lap, of course, to come, that probably that's not going to be too much of a problem in terms of keeping those wet weather tyres in their temperature condition that they need to be in to work effectively.
We see Timo Glock now diving into the inside. Will he come here? He made a double move. Maro Engel got really good away, but it definitely made it on Bruno Spengler. So again, really good move. See if Bruno Spengler is too far away now to get the position back.
Is Maro Engel going to be vulnerable now to Timo Glock, who seems to have better pace in his BMW and better grip in his BMW than Bruno Spengler? This was the start of the overtake here at the hairpin. Now Spengler was going to try and come back underneath, wasn't he?
Try, but it was not there yet.
Well, there wasn't room, was there? Because Maro Engel was on the outside of Glock.
Now we see now was quite tight as well with Maro Engel. But it's the same situation again. He managed to open, let's say, like you say, open their air balls, stay on the line, and deny this switchback possibility.
So Muller and Paul di Resta, for the last few laps, this has been raging, hasn't it? But Paul di Resta doesn't seem to have been able to find a way past Nico Muller. Is he going to try and do it now, heading towards the hairpin? Nico Muller very tight on the inside line here. Now goes to the outside. Paul di Resta does exactly the same. Will he turn in sharper? He's not close enough, even if he were to do that. And then we can see Mike Rockenfeller into that hairpin as well. Mike Rockenfeller running in P7. Here's Maro Engel then, who's going to try and make that Mercedes very wide to prevent the clutches of Timo Glock going up the inside. But Maro Engel should have the momentum to keep it going. Indeed, he does. So Glock is really trying here, isn't he, in the closing stages of this DTM Race 2 of the opening weekend of season 2017. Parabolica now, the spray being kicked up by Maro Engel into the windscreen of Timo Glock. Maro moves to the outside. Timo does as well, but now will go for the inside. Maro is prevented from trying to go to the inside because Bruno Spengler is there. And actually, that was just a textbook overtake at the hairpin from Timo Glock, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did pretty much the same strategy he did the lap before with Bruno Spengler. He kept inside, he kept the car tight, and there was no chance for Maro Engel to accelerate better than him.
Here we can see it in replay then. Oh, there was a little bit of a lockup from Maro Engel, which certainly wouldn't have helped his momentum going forward. It's been a fantastic drive from Nico Muller in terms of making that Audi very wide, because whatever Paul di Resta has thrown at it, he's not found a way past yet. And Nico Muller again defending very vigorously. Now Paul di Resta will take a look at the inside, but he's not quite close enough. The car is beginning to skirt a bit of Nico Muller's. So Parabolica now, very, very fast part of the circuit heading up towards that hairpin where braking is absolutely critical to get rid of the speed. Let's see if Paul di Resta can do anything here on Nico Muller. He goes out wide, ready to come underneath Nico Muller if the opportunity is there, but it isn't because Nico Muller just kept that angle at the apex quite tight, didn't he? Absolutely, he's not able to find his way past. Paul di Resta then all over the back of the Nico Muller Audi. And he's running out of time here because we've got... oh, very sideways from Paul di Resta as he completely controlled that slide through there. That's just how hard he's pushing. May I remind you, that argument and battle is going on for P5. P1 is Jamie Green, who will cross the timing line now, and this will become the last lap.
Yeah, we also saw the battle between, the fight between Gary Puffin and Marco Wittmann got stabilized a few laps ago in around 2 seconds. So I think there is no chance for Marco Wittmann to get closer to Puffett and to Gary Puffett and fight for the second position of the podium.
So then Jamie Green, our race leader.
Now coming for the last time towards the hairpin.
He's controlled this race really well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
With everything, bear in mind, he's had a penalty thrown at him, a 5-second stop and go penalty. You know, whatever he's thrown at, you know, he's been able to deal with it. He knew once he'd been given that stop-go penalty, he'd got to build that huge margin to Lucas Au, who incidentally is down there in P4 now. Just see him into your picture now as he goes through the hairpin. Yeah, Puffett has controlled this race. Jamie Green has controlled this race really, really well. Gary Paffett has done a phenomenal job to find himself in P2. And Marco Wittmann, who is the reigning champion, is, of course, P3. So pretty torrid conditions for the drivers to have contended with. The race started in dry conditions, and well, the prediction certainly was for rain, and there has been plenty of that. Jamie Green, who many had as a tip for the championship last year at the beginning of the season, and it didn't work out for the likeable Englishman. The rain is now returned to coming down again. So as we reach the conclusion of the race, it will end wet, but it will end victorious for Jamie Green then. He takes a win in race number 2 here at Hockenheim. And it's a double British 1-2, isn't it? Because Gary Paffett takes P2. The reigning champion, Marco Wittmann, is P3. And Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich, their former head of Audi Motorsport, delighted that Jamie Green has taken the win. Lucas Auer takes P4. It should be Nico Müller that takes P5. Indeed it is, ahead of Paul de Resta, P6. Then it will be Mike Rockenfeller, who takes P7. And well, just look how far back Timo Glock is.
Nice to see. You see now on the right side the accelerator, how he's just playing with it.
Just very cautious on the pedal movements. Yes, that was something that you came up with much earlier in the race, and it was that, you know, you've got to be gentle on that throttle, because otherwise, presumably, you just kick the back end out and you're sideways.
Exactly. This is how it works in the wet. Because I haven't seen.
Arno Zenzen will be a very happy man, and he's with Verena now. Too old for this business. Still doing a great job, because your driver is a winner of race 2. Jamie Green finished some just under a tenth under, 5 seconds ahead of Gary Paffett in P2. Now, you often see drivers running off the track on their slowing down lap, as we see a replay of the checkered flag falling for Jamie Green. And the reason that they run off the track on a slowing down lap is, as I understand it, to add some weight to the tyres. Alex Torrell, explain, please.
Exactly. When you are at the end of the race, you can go wherever you want, and you never know if you might miss some grams or some extra weight. So you go outside of the racetrack. This dirty or extra rubber, it sticks on your tire.
Yes.
So at the end of the race, can be a few grams more. We are not talking about probably any kind of kilos, but it can be 300, 400, half a kilo more. So you never know if this might get you a weight of a penalty or something similar. So
Alex Torrell alongside us, giving us valuable information. Alex, you may have guessed from the lovely accent that he has, from Spain, me from Britain, and a British P1 and P2. Does that have anything to do with our weather, do you think? Right.
I was exactly thinking this. Like, you're British and you brought the weather today.
The order is Green, Paffett, Wittmann. Then it's Auer, Müller, De Resta, Mike Rockenfeller, Timo Glock, Bruno Spengler. Maro Engel takes his first point in his return to DTM. Then it's Ekstrom, Blomqvist, Mortara, Farfus, and the rest of those that were out. And see, this is the other thing about Jamie Green, from his entertaining roots as a motorsport driver. He wants to entertain.
Exactly. He's preparing the breakfast for us tomorrow with some donuts.
That ain't bad, is it? So Jamie Green makes his way to Park Fermé. So this pickup business that you explained so eloquently, I mean, the cars are run so close to the weight limit, minimum weight, aren't they?
Yeah, we see now, for example, in the screen how the drivers are being weighed, because it's also minimum weight for drivers has to be 84 kilos. But of course, not every driver is on top of 84 kilos. So
I wonder if I'd work. Don't say a word, Toril.
But like I was saying, you have to wait. The driver has to wait 84 kilos. Of course, many of the drivers, I think there is no driver on the grid which is weighing 84 kilos. So this weight has to be added on the driver's side of the car with extra weight. And this plus the weight. But like we were saying, you have to take this pickup to go those extra grams because you never know.
Jamie Green pretty happy with his performance, and so he should be. Well done, sir. P1, Jamie Green. Drivers, of course, will be heading off to the podium. There's Gary Paffett, fellow Brit, to offer his congratulations to Jamie Green. Great P2 for Gary Paffett.
Not so bad for Britain, P1 and P2.
Absolutely, absolutely. Marco Wittmann offers his congratulations. Also, the reigning champion, of course, in DTM.
Yeah, and again, one driver which was starting P17, same like yesterday with Mike Rockenfeller, which is coming back in the podium.
Yeah.
So this is, what can we say, it is fantastic. And again, 3 different runs in the podium.
Yes, the changes that have been made for DTM for 2017, certainly initially on the first race weekend, appear to have hit the spot, don't they?
Yeah, I think they are pretty well done. We have now a lot of more race action, and like we saw yesterday, first race, 3 different manufacturers in the podium. Today's second race, 3 different manufacturers in the podium, 3 different drivers. No one repeating on the podium. So I think it will be really, really interesting season to watch.
And that's something that, you know, over the past seasons we've always said about DTM, is that, you know, the form book for race 1 doesn't necessarily give us a guide for race number 2. Super slow-mos at the top 3 then. Marco Wittmann, he is the reigning DTM champion. It would be his first podium of 2017 as he takes P3. First of the British stars is Gary Paffett that we see. He finishes second in the race. So very, very good, consistent driving in torrid conditions for Gary Paffett. He takes P2. And it didn't matter what the weather or race control threw at Jamie Green, because he was able to deal with the lot. And he takes the win. Gary Paffett then, P2. First of that British partnership up there on the podium. He's with Verena now. Thank you, Verena. PF International, the karting circuit to which they refer there.
I've been racing there.
Have you?
I raced the European
you into
classifications.
the
I think it was West Cup or North Cup. They were divided in 3, and I raced there in 2010. Nice racetrack, but they changed the layout afterwards.
Okay. Right, in the Drivers' Championship, Lucas Auer still at the top then, 40 points for Lucas Auer. Bear in mind, you see, he finished P4. Jamie Green is second in the championship now on 26. Gary Paffett tied with him on 26 points as well. I really think that the addition of the 3-2-1 points for the top 3 in qualifying is going to make quite a difference to the championship and be very important as Jamie Green heads to the top step of the podium. Gary Paffett will go to place number 2. And the reigning champion, Marco Wittmann, will head to the 3rd step of the podium. Manufacturer's representative, of course, up there for the winning team. And national anthem time. Stand by. So Jamie Green on the top step of the podium, and you will recall Alex Torrell right at the start of the race as he is presented with his trophy by Mr. Axel Versthorn. I said if anyone can handle conditions like these, Jamie Green is the man to do that because of his oval racing start in motor racing. His brother Nigel is still a very successful oval racer, incidentally.
Yeah, I mean, like we were speaking, especially in the wet conditions. Usually when it's wet in DTM, Jamie Green does a good job.
Yep.
And we saw this today. We saw he performed really well. He was really good in able to manage the gap with Gary Paffett and control the race at its own.
Johannes Rydek then makes the trophy presentation to Gary Paffett. The winging its way back to Suffolk. Yeah, lovely trophies, incidentally, Alex Torrell.
I hope they don't break like yesterday.
Mr. Dieter Gummer, the Lord Mayor of Hockenheim, yes. Timo Glock had all sorts of problems with his, didn't he, with bits breaking off. So, all 3 drivers and manufacturer get involved for the photograph. Make yourself comfortable, Jamie. And then, once that's done, it's the Henkel Trocken, which has long been associated with DTM as the bubbly of choice when it comes to the podium celebrations. And well done to the 1, 2, 3. Gary Paffett taking P2, Marco Wittmann P3, but the race winner, Jamie Green. And look at the smile on Arno Zenzen down there. It's truism, isn't it, Alex Torrell, that, you know, the team shares the glory, but the team shares the pain when it doesn't go quite so well.
Exactly. This is like we were talking yesterday. It's a team effort. Everyone wins, everyone loses, and it's there we see that now it's paying off the work of the brands during the whole winter. A lot of hours, also for the engineers designing, creating these new cars, looking how the new tires are working with the regulation. So it's a really team effort. At the end, it's the driver, the one sitting on the car and driving the car, but it's important to have everyone involved in the team.
Okay, let's find out how Marco Wittmann is feeling. He's with Verena right now. Right, let's take a look once again at Marco Wittmann's first lap. It was phenomenal. So P17, bear in mind, watch this, heading into turn number 1. So all sorts of things happening in turn number 1. And Marco Wittmann, he maintains the pace that he's got as well. He's got Tom Blomqvist on the right-hand side of him now, Maxime Martin ahead of him. Here comes yet some more overtaking from Marco Wittmann. This was heading up to the hairpin, a couple of lockups ahead. It just really, really controlled and focused the way he drove that car.
Yeah, exactly. Avoiding all the crash at the start of positioning the car really well, getting some position, using the traction out of the corner. The perfect first lap to position the car in the top spot. Then we see when it starts to rain, everyone's Lucas Auers on the left with slick tires, struggling to keep the pace.
Wow. Extraordinary racing from Marco Wittmann, but the man that controlled the race better than anybody else is Jamie Green.
Das sagt einer der dienstältesten DTM-Piloten. Congratulations nochmal, Gary Peffel. Also wirklich geiles Ding. Er freut sich riesig, hier dabei sein zu können. Und ich warte jetzt auf, dass Marco Wittmann da drüben am SWR-Mikrofon kurz losgelassen wird und dann zu mir rüberkommt. Deswegen gebe ich nochmal hoch zu dir, Richie.